Folks, happy Friday and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name is Jason Robertson and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. Thanks for joining us today, folks. Jason, what a week it's been. Trump's State of the Union, Dem meltdown, Department of Education out of there, IRS workforce cut in half, blame the chickens, blame Elon Musk. Democrats are completely out of ideas. And I love it, Jason. I love it. The more they go insane, the more votes we get in the midterms, the more votes we get in 2028. What a time to be alive.
Oh my gosh, I have to say Donald Trump has had the best first 30 plus days of a presidency, far exceeded my personal expectations. And we are so glad to talk about it with everybody today. Before we get into it, though, I want to give a huge shout out to our fans on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter X. We have great followings on there, but a special shout out to our Rumble only audience. We have Hey King and Girls already on the Rumble chat. I got to say, my favorite group is the Rumble group. I'm biased. Rumble doesn't suppress us. Rumble doesn't censor us, where those other platforms do. And every day, every Friday, Todd and I are on here, 10 o'clock Central. We run for an hour on all the platforms and the last half hour on Rumble only. And we do that because there's always topics that we want to talk about that we can't. This week, we're going to talk about South Africa. Donald Trump just dropped a tweet about it. And the stuff that's happening in South Africa is mind-blowing. Some of these platforms won't let us talk about it. But do us a favor when we get going, though. Make sure you give a like, comment on where you're tuning in from. Share the show with your friends. If we really inspire you, hey, you can subscribe. There's a subscribe button on all the platforms we're on. And Tada, what do you think? Anything for the audience?
I just got to say, Jason, we were not joking last week when we talked about a Rumble-only section where we invite all of our followers on camera, just have a blast as a community, talk to one another, hear their ideas. So we were not joking. We're 100% serious. Jason is out next Friday for some personal reasons, but I think the following Friday, Jason, 2 weeks from now, let's do it. Let's fire this off here. We just need you guys to message Jason over on X. We'll get your contact information. We'll set up a studio. We'll invite you. You can hop into our studio and be live with us on the podcast, Rumble only. I think that would be the best thing we've ever done.
I got to say, I think it's great because part of why Todd and I do this podcast is it keeps us sane because we want to find like-minded people who see what's happening in the government, the media. They see all the lies, and we like to break it down. And it was funny when I started doing this, like I like to engage with the chat, like recognize what they're saying or comment on things if they ask questions. And my wife said, people just like to be seen and know they're not alone. And yeah, that's part of our vision on our Rumble only. We want to get our subscribers on the Rumble side. Find me at JRob from MN on X. Send me an inbox and we'll go from there and we'll get you the technology. All you need is a phone. We'll have you on. We'll do a few segments. We'll see how we flush it all out. But yeah,
we got a great audience, a smart audience. We would love to hear you and really love to meet you on camera. I think that would be pretty special. And Jason, too, I just want to give another thank you. Last week, we had rants over on Rumble. We had a YouTube donation. We're getting subscriptions over on Rumble, some paid followers here. So just a big thank you to the audience that is supporting us financially now. Hard-earned money that you are working for. To give even $1 to us means a lot. So thank you to everybody last week. I made a couple bucks, Jason.
Giddy up. We love it. And we do this for fun, like to make a little money while we're doing it. It's great. Todd, where do we start? State of the Union. I got to say, for me, President Trump nailed it. And I look back on Trump term 1.0 and then the campaign in 2020 and 2024. And before that State of the Union, and technically it was just an address to joint Congress. It wasn't called the State of the Union. Before that, he gave that 4th of July speech a few years ago now at Mount Rushmore. And I thought that was the best political speech I've seen in my life. In my opinion, State of the Union, he exceeded it. He was poised. He was professional. He made resonant. He made very pertinent points to the American people. He eloquently, I think, pointed out Democrats not standing or cheering or recognizing some of the accomplishments. I mean, because let's face it, you shut down the open border. What American doesn't think that's a phenomenal idea? Like, I mean, seriously, he makes the kid with medical issues, DJ, makes him honorary Secret Service. You don't even get a clap for that. He talks to Lake and Riley's family. after they passed the Lake and Riley Act. You can't applaud for that. It was such bad optics from the Democrats, and they're even admitting it, which we're going to talk about.
But you know what, Jason? They did clap enthusiastically at one part of the speech. Would you be shocked to learn that Donald Trump only had to say one word to get Democrats on their feet, and that was Ukraine? Suddenly, the Democrat caucus was like, yes, great idea, Donald Trump. Let's fund it for 5 years. And part of what made the speech so great, yes, he was poised, professional. And as I said in my podcast yesterday, he was literally the dad figure for these petulant children, just shaking his head with a stupid, like smirking at Al Green as he's doing his nonsense, smirking at the other Dems. Very father-like, very childlike from the Dems. But when he goes off the cuff, just mocking Pocahontas to her face, Vance is back there cracking up. I love JD Vance's reactions the entire night. Mike Johnson knows he needs to be a statesman. He's cracking up behind him. But it was those moments like that, too, that humanize and personalize Donald Trump. It's moments like that you realize this is just another dude, another human being like me that loves this country. And you contrast that with these Democrats who are never honest, never authentic. So I loved the humanizing aspect where, yes, you're allowed to tell jokes sometimes, but he threaded that needle perfectly of poise, professional, with just a little bit of humor there.
Yeah, and I have to say, it was interesting, even if you believe the polls, which we are very suspect of polls, the message overall resonated very well with Americans. 60-70% approval of what he was saying. I think you see it in the behavior of some. I mean, the Democrats right now are lost. They're like, it's funny, like Greg has a very relevant message here. If they are not on board with America and it's American citizens they need to be, put them out to the curb and get them out of their country if they hate it so bad. Yeah. I think you see more and more. We talk about normie Democrats, not your crazy blue-haired cat lady, but your normal Democrat who maybe just wants a few more social programs than you do as a conservative, right? But that person saw like 70-80% of what Trump was talking about and is like, hey, this is good. This is good for America. This is good for the country. We should absolutely be doing this. And the fact that Democrats can't get behind it. And even like when he talked about the border, when he said, you all said we needed the border law, turned out we just needed new leadership. It just like tingles down my spine.
He opens up his speech and says, America is back. And people go nuts. I was going nuts. Like if you weren't getting emotional when you saw little DJ, the 13-year-old brain cancer survivor, hugging the Secret Service director. What's one of the comments in here? As Greg says, demons. You have to be a demon to not get emotional at that point and stand up and clap for little DJ. I'm a parent. Jason, you're a parent. Like every parent in America. How do you not choke up at that? That could be your kid right there that's endured so much. But as I said to Jason on my show yesterday, and then we'll move on. I won't recap my entire show. We have clearly moved on from policy debates. Like this is no longer Democrats want more government, higher tax rates for individuals. We are at a spiritual conflict, folks. This is no longer policy debate. This is no longer both sides bad. It's a spiritual battle for the nation, for the soul of the individuals in this nation. You cited the poll, 60-70% of Americans are on board. Who are the 30 to 40% that listen to Trump's fantastic best speech ever on Tuesday night, and they're walking away saying, like, it was too mean, divisive. I really support Democrats and the open border and the endless wars and the going after the kids and castrating them and releasing criminals. Like, you're defending all of that? Like, what is wrong with you as an American?
Yeah, and I mean, Nancy over on the Facebook really hit that nail on the head. It's because these things have been repeated from the past, which is hidden. And they also... and they took the wrong path and got lost. Like, and I think Americans are really waking up to this. People have accepted Donald Trump won the election. Whatever you think about his margin of victory, he won the swing states. He won the popular vote. Like, whoever thought a Republican would win the popular vote? Like,
Donald Trump, especially with all of the media narratives against him.
Right. And I think normie Democrats are even like, okay, this guy's president. Let's try to make the country as good as we can these next 4 years. And Democrats are almost fighting against that. Like, you can see where Democrats want him to fail and they want the country to fail so they can get back in power. And more and more just everyday people are looking at him like, are you guys insane? Like, why are you not cheering that border crossings are down? Why are you not cheering about some of this stuff? It's insane.
It's wild. Yeah. Shout out to Fally over on Facebook. Can't seem to get on Rumble. Fally, that is horrible news. But thank you for finding us over on Facebook still. And Jason, Robert over on YouTube, $10 from Robert. Thank you so much, Robert. Where is the studio? If you're ever in New York, let me know. Dinner on me. Also, I know this is self-indulgent, but sometimes I think everything Trump does is just to make me personally happy. Hope it is the same for you. Yeah. Robert, spot on. Thanks for the $10. We are based in Minnesota, so sympathies to you. You are in a more communist state than we are, and that's saying something because it's Minnesota. We are surrounded by lunatics here. But man, New York is a whole different beast right there. But we will get out to New York one day, Robert. Dinner would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the friends I've met through doing work like this, Mike Sprazza is out in New York. He runs an insurance company, and I'll talk to him and we'll swap like horror stories about how stupid New York is for a business owner and how stupid Minnesota is for a business owner. I think New York has a speed. I'll be honest.
I think so. New York and California, we're trying to get there. Minnesota Dems, Illinois Dems, they want to be California, New York, but my God, it's absolutely wild. Yeah, one more point, Jason, then I'll bookend kind of our recap of his joint address. Donald Trump has positioned himself so well. Like you said earlier, everything he does, if you oppose Donald Trump, and Dems are making a political statement saying, oh, we got to oppose Donald Trump, what they are saying, though, is I am opposing America because Donald Trump's policies, they're not for just Republicans, not just for MAGA, not just for his voters. They're for all Americans. And if you are going to oppose securing the border, bringing these ISIS terrorists to justice back in America, protecting kids, protecting women's sports, bringing peace around the world, those are Trump's policies. And if you oppose those policies, you are opposing the American people. You are saying, I don't want what's best for the American people. It's an insane place to be. I love that we're here because the more Democrats open their mouths, the more they get a microphone, the more Jasmine Crockett is making the rounds on podcasts, the better it is for our movement and for this country.
Oh, my God. Yeah, we've got that video, right, of the whatever fight Democrats released after it.
Yeah, we got that one. Oh, we got some good vids today.
Oh, hey, we got to shout out Paul Reese. He's watching the show with his dad, Paul Reese, Split Rock Coffee, disabled, veteran owned and operated, splitrockcoffee.com. On there, it's coffee you can drink all day. If you're like me with a little bit of a sensitive tummy, low acid, tastes really good.
And if you want to help a coffee company based in Minnesota that pays outrageous business taxes, go ahead and subscribe and save. Go to splitrockcoffee.com and use promo code TOD10. That is me right here, Jason. I'm on promo code. My parents are so proud. TOD10. Save instantly on your subscription. Get fresh ground coffee delivered to your every day and help out a business in Minnesota that pays all of its profit in taxes to Governor Tim Walz and Dems.
Oh, my God. Yeah. and I'm seeing in the chat, too. It sounds like there's some other states out here, like Vermont. And yeah, it's really funny. Hey, we should get to the first video, Todd. Where are we starting?
All right. There we go. We're going small. Let's focus on the videos here. You know, there's a couple... We got egg prices today. We'll talk egg prices. Yeah, we want to skip, folks. By now, you've seen all the clips, so we're not going to spend a lot of the time on the joint address that Trump gave. Wanted to kind of see the Dem reaction, want to cover some different narratives, so maybe a little bit of misleading headline for our program today. But CNN did a panel, Jason. They sat down with just regular Americans. They wanted to get their thoughts on how Trump did. It didn't go as CNN planned. This is a great moment.
I mean, I don't really have enough. They killed 100 million chickens. So in 2024,
that was part of the response to avian flu.
But exactly, but that also is a reason why the prices went up. Right. It's not that Trump did anything about that. And I mean, it was the bird flu. They had to call the chickens. Right. That's why the prices raised up. It wasn't Trump's fault. It wasn't because Biden had some crazy policy against, eggs and chickens. So,
I appreciate all of your perspectives. We're going to have to put a pin on that.
Uh-oh, we can't let this news and truth get out. CNN better put a pin in that conversation. Jason, too many truth bombs.
Yeah, I was going to say this is the follow-up. And to give the full context, this is a panel of like normal people that watch Pennsylvania voters that watch the Trump's address. And they're trying to rail about egg prices, which we'll do a little bit deeper dive into egg prices. Turns out, Todd, it's going to shock you. When you kill all the chickens, guess what happens to egg prices?
Do you mean supply and demand? If I don't have as many egg layers, the remaining eggs are more expensive? Is that how this
works?
My
gosh, that is crazy.
My mind is blown.
Mind blown. Hey, we got to give a shout out to Dee Dee over on the Rumble. One of our fabulous subscribers over there. All right. Where should we go next?
Yeah, we're going to come back to egg prices here. I got one more CNN clip, though.
Viewers to see of you with your chicken. I don't know what this chicken's name is. Maybe you do.
Never name the chickens.
Oh, That's sad.
Well,
but seriously, is this realistic? Like, is this a realistic solution? Like, I mean, or is it a little bit out of touch with? I mean, there's a lot of people who, have no backyard to put a chicken in, for example.
That's true. Well, first of all, I would highly recommend this hobby to anybody. It's been the most fulfilling and worthwhile thing. I started with 6, I now have 35.
You have 35 chickens?
And I'm like the Pablo Escobar of my neighborhood.
Oh my God.
It's outrageous the amount of eggs I get every single day. Now, don't everybody come over at once. But
I did hear you sometimes bring them here to CNN and share them.
I have brought eggs here. Look, I think she was making light of the idea that backyard chicken farming is taking off. But what is true is that we killed millions upon millions upon millions of chickens, which is why egg prices are high today. What I hope is that the Agriculture Department looks at this chicken culling policy. I think we may have killed too many. But if you want to know why the egg prices are high, it's not because of what anything Donald Trump has done. It's just we killed all the chickens that lay all the eggs. Now, not a problem.
Okay. It's amazing. We're not even debating fact, but we're not debating policy, or we're just debating facts. Like, you can't even talk to a Democrat anymore. It's like, do you understand that Biden killed all the chickens? That's why egg prices are so high. Can we just have a conversation about reality? Like, can't even do that with these folks anymore.
Well, yeah, and so now, I mean, let's break down chickens just so everybody knows. First, government intervention has made it hugely difficult to be a small farmer in America. Like, this is a fact. Government regulation has made it where corporate entities own the vast majority of our chicken and egg production in America. That is bad. It is all centralized in the power of a number of different corporations. Chicken farmers often don't even own their chicken flock. They get contracted by these companies to raise the chickens for them. So even if you own a chicken farm, you're just industrially raising these chickens. They're not as good. They're not free range. They aren't fed as good. I mean, all the things. They're just not, the way we raise chickens is not great. But then the government, when avian flu came in and you get one chicken in a herd of hundreds of thousands, they say you have to destroy the entire flock, or whatever you call the group of chickens. So the last year Biden was in office, they killed millions of chickens. And if you look over the last 3-4 years, that's happened repeatedly. Now, every time that happens, it takes you a bunch of weeks to get chickens back up and running. So what the Trump administration announced this week, and we'll play the clip that's been making rounds on left-wing media, is Trump announced a $1 billion initiative that has 5 prongs that is going to work on fixing chicken egg prices. It involves deregulation to allow independent producers. It involves figuring out how to stop the avian flu. It involves maybe if one chicken tests positive, we don't need to kill the whole flock. It involves investment into other ways to stop the avian flu. It's a comprehensive thing that they announced. But the big part of it I liked is how you can decentralize chicken production from these inhumane factory farms, spread it out, and let actually somebody be a small farmer selling stuff at a farmer's market, those sorts of things. And to me, that is all I want to hear as an American. Let's let Americans become chicken producers, make it economically feasible for you to run a chicken farm yourself. I mean, it's amazing. But Democrats boil it down to Donald Trump said, raise chickens in your backyard. It's just, it's mind numbing.
Yeah, I'm going to hop over this comment, kind of the same thread. Nancy, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting over on Facebook. All by design. Jason, you and I have said from the beginning, the only thing Democrats have to pin their hopes on is an economy that fails. Again, to be a Democrat, you have to root for America to fail. In this case, they will make the economy the issue. So they're jumping on the price of eggs. Oh, Donald Trump said he'd make things cheaper. He's been in office for 6 weeks and egg prices are expensive. Let's blame Donald Trump. They're cheering the fact that you're paying more for eggs to begin with. That's bad enough. Of course, they're lying about why egg prices are so high. It's not hard to dispel. We just did that in 10 seconds. They killed chickens. They made the cost of the remaining chickens' eggs more expensive. But should we go to the clip here?
Yeah.
And then actually, I just want to, Jason, we have so many comments on Facebook. I just want to give a shout out to Jamie. Everything on how the bird flu only seems to hit when Democrats are in office. 2020, 2024, weird how that works. Valley says they did it on purpose. Frank's over on Facebook. Thanks for your comment there. talking about, again, the same thing. Biden screwed Trump by declaring no drilling. Again, hurt the economy. That was the Dem plan. Nina's over on Facebook. These are not Democrats. This is a radical regime with no common sense or logic. Absolutely. We got Judith over on Facebook, and we've got Roger over on Facebook. Blue state conservative Roger. He's in Illinois. We're in Minnesota. Robert's in New York. We got people all over the country in these failing blue states, the land that Pritzker screwed over. Yeah, Roger.
Oh my gosh, was
right
Roger
there.
one of the blue state conservative guys?
No. He's I borrowed that
in a
name,
blue
Jason,
state.
because
Okay.
he's a conservative in a blue state. Yeah, that little callback.
Oh,
there.
I had to clarify that. For those who don't know, Todd's first website he ran was Blue State Conservative. That was how we met. And every now and then somebody pops up that used to like write for him or contribute.
Read the website. But yeah, Facebook crew, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. If you missed the beginning of the show, Jason talked about how we are trying to build a Rumble community. It's just like YouTube, any other big tech platform. You get an app on your phone, a little green play button. Head over to rumble.com. Look for the American Tribune. That is our channel here. Love you guys on Facebook. Love you watching on Facebook. But head over to Rumble and give it a chance.
Yeah. So do we see the clip they're railing on, Todd?
All right. We really built up suspense. Here we go.
Part of it, and that was towards the very beginning of the speech. He talked about affordability for American families, and that's really important. Under the last administration, Joe Biden, food prices went up 22%. We're in an egg crisis, if you will, right now. Egg prices under Joe Biden, I'm going to show you my fancy handy-dandy chart again. Egg prices under Joe Biden went up 237%. If you can see that right there.
237%. But it's all Trump's fault. Trump bad. He's been president for 6 weeks. Why are they expensive?
Right.
237.
Trump egg prices were very low. Trump won. Joe Biden way up here. There's a lot of reasons for that, Larry, but these are what we have to basically fight right now in inheriting the Biden economy and the unaffordability crisis facing America. The president asked me to tackle it head on. Last week, we rolled out a 5-point plan talking about how to bring the prices of eggs down. A big part of that was deregulation. Another part of that was biosecurity, how we import some eggs in the short term, and frankly, how we look at the long term, how to fix this problem. We've got some documents now. The Biden administration looked at this avian flu issue a couple years ago. They didn't do anything about it. So now we're looking at it point by point by point and ensuring that this doesn't happen again.
So, Todd, it sounds like President Trump and his team, this is Brooke Rollins, the ag secretary. She's been a farmer. She's got a degree in farming. Sounds like there's a pretty comprehensive plan in place that Trump's trying to implement. What do you think?
It sounds like they do have a plan in place. I heard specific details how they're going to address this problem. Weird.
Right. Now, should we play with Democrats here?
Well, I got one more clip of Brooke. I think she, I can't read the fine print here. Jason, we're going to go on a flyer here. I got one more Brooke comment. This might elucidate our audience a little bit more as well.
Are in California, $12, but we are on it and we're working night and day to solve it.
Well, I have chickens in my backyard. Sean started that.
Yes.
And yesterday I went out, they just started laying. And yesterday I got 5 eggs. I guess my question, if you could make it just really quick because I'm out of time, is part of the solution more small farms? Because when avian flu hits and you have these giant industrial farms and these chickens, which I don't think the eggs are as good anyway, is part of it just investing in smaller farms, encouraging that?
I think the silver lining in all of this is how do we, in our backyards, we've got chickens too in our backyard, how do we solve for something like this? And people are sort of looking around thinking, wow, well, maybe I could get a chicken in my backyard. And it's awesome. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think everyone who isn't a farmer right now wants to be. So you're in the right department, Brooke.
This is amazing. So you see this clip that highlights just the raise them in the backyard. And if you watch Brooke go on any leftist news media from MSNBC or whatnot, if you see internet personalities, I guarantee if your Democrat friend only watches Occupy Wall Street or Occupy Democrats or the Midas Touch, they took that second clip that talks about the veracity of raising chickens in the backyard. They did an hour segment on it about how people live in apartments and I can't believe Donald Trump doesn't have a strategy. Meanwhile, us on the right saw the other clip and we're not idiots. And we say, okay, yeah, let's deregulate. Let's get more other farmers raising chickens. Let's do different things. Let's get more humane chickens. But this is the intellectual divide that's going on. But some Democrats are waking up to this, because there's going to be some Democrats that watch the TikTok clip saying raise your chickens in the backyard, and they're going to say that can't be the whole plan. And then you do a simple Google search and like, oh, they have a 5-point plan that they're putting $1 billion towards, which I got to say, if we're going to spend $1 billion instead of trans studies in Siberia or whatever, I would much rather it on food production in Minnesota.
That was almost a reference to my favorite Christmas band, Jason.
Yes, it was.
I gotta
Oh,
say,
hey,
though,
we got to give a
Jason,
shout out too to Nina over on Facebook. Todd, did you say American Tribune on Rumble?
I sure did. It is the American Tribune, but I just went over to Rumble. If you pop in just American Tribune, we'll still show up. We got our little logo over there, which is not on our podcast for some reason, but you'll see a guy with the laurels, very Roman looking, very emperor looking. So that is us. That's the American Tribune, Nina. Yeah, thanks for checking that out. Jason,
And Todd, do you want to explain the logo too?
Tiberius Gracchus. Can I make a point before I forget it on the eggs? And then
Yeah,
I'm gonna come
go
back
for
to our
it.
logo. Yeah, the other thing too, though, it highlights the left is screaming Trump doesn't have a plan. His only plan is to have us raise our own chickens. And I'm thinking, even if that was the whole plan, isn't that fantastic? So that you're not dependent on the government to make solutions to problems it also created. Imagine that, Democrats. You can be reliant on yourself, your neighbors, and your community. You can raise your own chickens. You can produce your own eggs. You're not beholden to these corporate egg producers. You're not beholden to the government for coming in as Big Daddy to rescue you all the time. Even if that were the whole truth and they're over there melting down about it, the response should be, you're an idiot. The government will never help you more than you can help yourself already. All right, that's my rant on that piece.
Well, I got to say too, you made a critical point to a delineation between the right and the left. The left thinks the only solve to any of these problems is government. And the right thinks the cause of all these problems is government. You know, and it's funny, people will compare to like, oh, Mexico's got cheaper eggs. Mexico has cheaper eggs because they didn't consolidate all their production into a couple big companies. And when they get avian flu on one of the birds, they don't kill 600,000 chickens. Whether or not that is feasible or not, I saw somebody in the chat earlier say something about how you can still eat the eggs as long as they're cooked right. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. Like, I know my stepson has started raising chickens. I know when he shows up for dinner every week or two, he brings us eggs. Like, farm fresh eggs are amazing. But man, can you imagine a world if instead of being reliant on and I mentioned earlier, Will had wrote a piece about a year ago about chicken farms in America. Most people didn't know it was when egg prices were bad under Biden, which people were blaming inflation, which was part of it, but he killed a bunch of chickens then too. But most chicken farmers don't even like own their chickens. It's not like they're chicken flock. They get contracted by these big multinational corporations to raise chickens on their farm because they can't compete with it. It's really insane. So
absolutely insane. And Fally over there, speaking of insane, still trying to get on Rumble. We are with you, Fally, in spirit. You will figure this out. But thanks for watching over on Facebook still. Nina saying thank you. Yep, again, folks, that's Rumble at the American Tribune. We got a name that I'm going to butcher. Loom Rex saying, don't worry about eggs. Every now and then we get these comments like this. Maybe I could ignore it, but I'm not worried about eggs so much as using that as an example, a proxy to talk about larger issues. We're talking about how the media is framing up this egg price shortage. They're blaming it on Donald Trump. We're telling you that that is a lie. Again, freedom from the press means that the media lies to you all the time. So eggs are just one example today of how they're lying about Donald Trump, framing it up as wrecking the economy, not doing anything, not doing enough. So there we go. But me personally, Jason, I'm getting chickens this year. Not worried about the eggs.
Oh, you are going to get chickens?
I got the wife on board. We had chickens a couple years ago. They mysteriously disappeared. Never know what happened to them. But we're getting chickens again. Neighbors just got a whole brood. I looked it up, Jason. Peep, flock, or brood to describe a group of chickens. But they got a whole bunch, and I'm gonna siphon a few off from them.
Oh my gosh. I got to say, like 6 years ago, the wife and I were out going on a bike ride. We have e-bikes, which, by the way, get an e-bike. They're phenomenal. And I remember driving to the dog park. We have little baskets on the front where we put our little dogs in. And we saw a chicken coop in a neighbor's backyard. This is like several years ago. And I'm like, that launched the like, oh my God, we need to get backyard chickens. I have not committed. I've been a coward. And we have 2 little dogs that would totally terrify the chickens. But I got a bunny living in my backyard now that's like trapped in the backyard. So maybe I could have the bunny, the chickens, they could all like learn to peacefully coexist.
You got an honorary pet back there. All right.
Giddy up.
All right, Jason, we couldn't do a show without complete Dem meltdowns. We said that they're stratospherically unhinged. I don't know if I made up a word or an adjective to describe them today, but that's where we're at. In the stratosphere, that's how unhinged they are. Here's a video that the Dems thought would play well. People that have never been in a fight in their life, maybe never worked out in their life, they're getting tough against Donald Trump. You just got to watch this. I'm shaking. I am shaking in my boots. Here come the Dems. They're fighting back.
I don't even know what to say. This was their official response to Donald Trump's State of the Union, where once again, Donald Trump's like, open border, or we're closed the border. Here's a kid with brain cancer. Here's Lake and Riley. We've stopped illegal criminals coming in. All very, very positive things. And then you see Democrats with stupid music dancing
Jason,
around.
I just saw this. Read the captions on this. So here they have their little bio. It's Representative Susie Lee, Nevada's 3rd Congressional District, president of communities and schools in Nevada. And her 3rd bullet point is 2 sprained fingers.
I don't even know.
To tell you that she has 2 sprained fingers. Jasmine Crockett, not a morning person, not into hair dye, says the lady with gray hair. Catherine Clark, a Trekkie. AOC is a Trekkie.
Oh, no.
Well, they actually thought that would play well, too. Not only are they out there pretend boxing, just looking absolutely pathetic, all these strong, independent women in the Democrat Party. You got Jessica Wu, a new mom who is sleep deprived. Boy, that really makes my spine tingle. Here come the Democrats with their sprained fingers and not a morning person, really fighting the good fight. Oh, my God.
I can't believe this was their official response to the State of the Union.
Whenever you see something like this, just understand there was a meeting about it. They agreed to do this. They filmed it, they edited it, and then they published it. And someone all along thought this was a good idea.
Now, I got to say, we are seeing some Democrats come around going, okay, we are going full on R word. And do we go to the Fetterman clip? Because
Fetterman, here we go.
During the SOTU, if you thought that was smart messaging, if you landed, what I'm saying though is what I witnessed wasn't helpful, and that wasn't moving the ball for Democrats. Yeah. I don't believe that. And if you can't just all stand and cheer for a 13-year-old boy that got, I mean, I have a 13-year-old myself, got over cancer. I mean, that's the wrong message on that.
I agree. Can't you do both?
And again, I remember when Joe Wilson, that jerk off yelled, "You lie, you lie," and everyone recoiled, and like that was appalled by that. And it's like, so now we became the Joe Wilson of 2025, and that was a loser in 2009, and I don't think that's a winner or it's appropriate anymore now in 2025.
I think this is where we're going to disagree, Jason. I'm going to let you go first.
Well, I'll go first. I think I will say this, and Dee Dee hit the nail on the head. I told you we have a really smart audience. Didn't stop Fetterman from voting against women's rights. I am going to say John Fetterman, like, he gets a few things right. This is one thing he gets right. The Democrat messaging is really bad. I don't like Fetterman. I don't trust Fetterman. I don't support Fetterman. But when the guy who had a legitimate brain injury is the thought leader of the Democrat Party, it really comes across as really bad. So if you look, the brain trust of the Democrats thought it was a good idea to make the fight video. John Fetterman is like, guys, why don't we just cheer for the young kid and then get our message across? Let's not be jerks. Like, the country has spoken. What do you think, Todd?
So I don't believe any of it for a second. I mean, yes, he is obviously saying the correct thing. This didn't play well. I don't know whose idea it was. These people are all insane. But I don't trust him. And really, to Dee Dee's point right there, his voting, he has a voting record. We know where John Fetterman stands on all of this. He was a no on every single Trump cabinet nominee. He's been a no on everything of Trump's agenda, as far as I know right now, voting 100% with his party. I guess I don't really care what he has to say about the Democrat response when he is always standing in solidarity. His actions speak much louder than words. This is a dude that lives in a swing state. He is desperate to get reelected. Pennsylvania carried Donald Trump. Pennsylvania will continue to carry the America First movement. And Fetterman knows this, so he's going to say the right things when it means nothing. There's no accountability to these words. Look at his voting record. And Jason, we got another clip of Gavin Newsom. I don't want to give Fetterman any credit. That's where you and I are going to disagree. Yes, he's saying something obvious, but instead of saying it, Democrats could act on doing the right thing, and none of them did.
One, I think to explore the thought a little further, I think it illustrates the machine that is the Democrat Party. And we're going to talk about this a little bit with a Tim Burchett clip here in a few clips. But John Fetterman, who is one of the more notable congresspeople, good or bad, he won a Senate seat in Pennsylvania, which is a big swing state. You know, I think you're right. He's afraid of getting voted out. So that's where he gets some more of this like common sense rhetoric from. But the Democrat Party is so tightly clamped down on this, even with John dare vote against it. And that's the part that's just shocking. And if you think of how tightly controlled the Democrat Party is, you've got a few people out there going like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be complete jerks. And nobody will vote against it. Hey, I got to give a shout out too.
Your shout out.
We got Kev's here.
Kev, good morning. Thanks for joining us over from Bannon. Did Bannon?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Although Kev does make a good point too. Fetterman only voted for Bondi, as far as I can recall.
If he did, then I was wrong. Yeah, our audience knows more sometimes. I thought he was a no all around.
I will say, though, I remember when I saw that, and I'm like, oh, that probably means Pam Bondi sucks.
Okay. Fetterman joined Republicans in supporting Bondi. There we go.
Yeah, that was the only one.
Yeah, I like this comment, too, from Jamie. You look at RFK Jr., he was a Democrat, switched sides, now he's the head of health. I mean, that's what Fetterman could do. He could actually renounce his membership in the Democrat Party. If he was if he believed all of this and said, I support Donald Trump's agenda, and I'm obviously America first, because how can you hate this country and represent it? He could switch teams, but he's not. And again, one more action that speaks much, much louder than words for me.
Absolutely.
All right. And Jason, I forgot we had a Chuck Schumer clip, I think, kind of saying the same thing, just to kind of hammer home the point that Democrats in charge are also panicking right now as the Crockett's are out there spewing nonsense, as AOC is dancing.
I got to say, I'm rather enjoying the Democrat Party being rudderless. Like Nancy Pelosi did such a nice job ruling with an iron fist. Now all the crazies are out there.
Yeah, the crazies have taken over the party. That is for sure.
Congressman Al Green was yelling at the podium and he was escorted out. What was going through your head as you heard the congressman yelling?
Well, look, the bottom line is lots of people are frustrated, but the best way to protest what Trump is doing what we are doing and many senators and many congressmen are doing, and that is organizing against these horrible policies of...
Just to reiterate, what Chuck Schumer calls horrible are securing the border, ending wars overseas, not going after children with any propaganda, making the country safer, going through all of the corruption in D.C. I'm speaking a little more slowly for our Democrat audience right now. When Chuck Schumer says everything Trump's doing is horrible, just understand then that he wants open borders, foreign wars, corruption in D.C. He wants your kids taken from your home if you don't affirm their identity. That's what Chuck Schumer is saying.
Of calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme and then slashing
would you
people
rather,
in Social
would you
Security
rather
offices.
that Congressman
So here's
Green,
what we're, John, here's what we're doing.
Would you rather that he not yell?
Here, let me just say, the best answer, in my judgment, is to organize. So I put a call together last week with our activists. I thought 300-400 people would get on the phone. 3,000 people got on the phone. And what we all decided was we're going to focus our energy on the 6 Republican...
I'm going to ask this rhetorically, Jason. 4,000 activists. Who's paying the bill? How are there 4,000 activists that do this as a job?
Well, it's funny you say that because we'll get to the Tim Burchett clip. I framed that up pretty well now, but
You've really been setting that one up. I know. I keep teasing you with a different video.
yeah, I love that. But it's funny because I think one of the things we're discovering, and even other than just the straight on hardcore Democrats, are happy with Dodge. Like many people are like, yeah, there's so much government waste, and like nobody wants like measles treatment like cut out, but I think most people are like, yeah, the government spends way too much money, it's way too big. I see that messaging landing, but it's funny. Even if there's 4,000 activists, like 6 months ago, before Trump won the election, there was all this USAID money. There would have been 60,000 activists. And like, as you notice on these protests, it's like large crowd of protesters, and it's like 30 people, or the senators are out in front at a protest, and it's them and like 3 dudes with signs. I think you're seeing the entire Democrat leftist operation was all entirely funded by government money. And without government money, all these activists, all these protesters, all this nonsense completely goes away. I mean, we could see the death of the Democrat Party as it currently exists just because we shut down USAID.
Congress members from New York, because they hold the key to stopping these horrible policies. As you know, in the House, all you need 1 or 2. In the Senate, you need 3 or 4. We don't have Republican senators in New York, but in other states there are. And the best way to organize and protest is to organize. Organizing is hard, but it's effective, and that's what we're doing.
Well, let me ask a different way. Would you rather see Democrats more in line with what Senator Alyssa Slotkin was saying, or more in line with what Congressman Al Green and people holding signs in the audience were doing last night?
Look, I thought Alyssa Slotkin, I chose her because she is such one of our rising stars from the Midwest, won a race, knows how to talk to average folks, to working families, and she did a great job. And I think, again, the American people got more truth in 5 minutes of her speech than with all the lies, with all the misconceptions, with all the things that were departing from reality. When Donald Trump says he's the greatest president after 30 days of chaos and hurting people since George Washington, give me a break.
I gotta say, this stuff is just so funny. Hey, Todd, in the last 30 days, has your life gotten any more chaotic?
No.
I woke up, go to work. I mean, it's been a little chaotic for me. I've had contractors in the house. I'm dealing with the kidney problems. That's not the government's fault or Donald Trump's fault. Like, folks, let us know in the chat. Other than trying to keep up with all the policy initiatives Donald Trump's doing, like that has made my life chaotic. Like every day looking to see how many more wins Donald Trump can have. That's made my life a little bit more chaotic. But as for my daily stuff, get up, go to the store, have dinner. My life's not chaotic at all. I don't know what they're talking about.
I know that culture war issues shouldn't take center stage. I have 2 young girls, Jason. I can't for the life of me. And again, we live in Minnesota. Every family member, friend of mine votes Democrat. Their fathers, their mothers, they have young girls. I cannot imagine voting for the party that every single one voted against preventing biological men from competing against biological women. And me thinking about my 2 daughters going up there having a volleyball spiked in their face so hard that they suffer a traumatic brain injury and get partially paralyzed. I mean, I'm trying to use nice language because I want them to listen to the show. I want to engage in these conversations when we get in person, but it's just like something is wrong with you. You are broken, defective as a human being.
It's funny you say that, and great comment by Dorothy over on Facebook. The hatred for Trump is so strong they can't see anything else. It has nothing to do with policies or what they want for the American people. Their hatred for Trump is taking over every aspect of any type of decency that the Democrat Party could have. That's true with a lot. And I'll tell a personal story on my personal Facebook page. Send me a friend request if you find me on there. I don't do a lot of political talking, but I share some stuff that's just funny. Like the Gulf of America, I shared a picture of. I shared the Dodge waste video on my personal page because I just think that list is hysterical. I share Rand Paul's list when he gives it to. And one of my lefty friends, I have a lot of Democrat friends, I'm also from Minnesota, commented about the tariffs and like tariffs are going to make prices go up. And I'm like, that is such a bad analysis of it. Do you want a full breakdown? Because on our Substack, like Will's broke down what tariffs can do, how they help you culturally, how they help move production back to America. We've written a number of pieces. Todd and I have talked about it on podcasts. And he's like, well, I don't trust anything Trump says or you say. All the economists say prices are going to go up. And I replied again, I'm like, no, dude, like, it's like if you exercise, will you gain weight? Well, yeah, short term you will, because fat turns muscle, you gain weight. Long term, you get healthier, your weight ends up going down net, all those sorts of things. But he didn't want to hear anything other than Trump thinks tariffs are good, therefore I think tariffs are bad. And I don't know how we reach these people. It's incredible.
I really don't. And I would love for Chuck Schumer in this clip right here, instead of just saying Trump's horrible policies, I think I heard him say it at least twice. Give me one example. Don't play defense when your friend is like, I can't believe you supported Trump. No. Okay, name me. You're going on offense now, folks. Put them in the corner. Tell me one thing Trump has done that you don't like, and then tell me why that is harmful to America. And then their brains will shut down because they can't. Like, you honestly can't at this point.
Yeah, and it's funny. Actually, do we go to the Gavin Newsom clip now?
Yeah, we got to go to Gavin here. So this is, again, my take is going to be the same. This is just like Fetterman. Oh, we got to be moderate. We got to support the American people, message them appropriately. We can't be insane. So Gavin Newsom, folks, I hope you're sitting down for this one. He says something nobody expected, and he's trying to take all the credit for it. He thinks he's such a reasonable human being all of a sudden.
You know what? The young man who's about to win the state championship in the long jump in female sports, right. that shouldn't happen. You as the governor should step out and say no.
No, and I appreciate
but like, would you do something like that? Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that. So that's easy to call out, the unfairness of that. There's also a humility and a grace, that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand. How can we address this issue with the kind of decency that I think, is inherent in you, but not always expressed?
I laughed. Kevin just dropped this comment here.
I love Kev.
I think we can read that on Facebook. The people who want to slice your kids' wee-wee off are now experts on tariffs.
Right.
Great comment, guys.
I joke about it when I think about it too, because I'm old and I think about things that were cool when I was young in like the 80s. Like I want to know in like 40 years when these kids are my age, where they'll be like, yeah, because in my teens I got an ear piercing and I was thinking about a tattoo, but I didn't want to like permanently scar myself. But like, imagine being a 50-year-old and like, yeah, I really thought it was a good idea to cut my junk off.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of resentment when these kids mature and grow up, to the extent that they're able to actually mature physically, since they've cut off all their hormone pathways.
Right.
It'll be wild.
But now to frame this up with Newsom. So Newsom actually did an interview with Charlie Kirk, who we were all assured was white supremacist, right? And we shouldn't be, engaging with him. Gavin Newsom is trying to see if he can take leadership over the Democrat Party. I thought he'd be the nominee in 2024. They went Kamala. He's done being governor. I don't think he can run again. So he's looking for that next path, probably as a senator or running for president. And Gavin Newsom is as awful as ever. He is very dangerous because he's a very smooth and eloquent speaker. But when you see he's trying to kind of not nudge in that line, like, yeah, maybe boys competing against girls isn't a good thing. And you can kind of see where this is going.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't get to play both sides. Gavin thinks he's so slick and nuanced, and he's actually just saying nothing. On one hand, yes, it's about fairness. I totally understand where you're coming from. And at the same time, you need to be a decent human being, allow these dudes to knock out girls cold when they're playing sports. Pick a lane, Gavin Newsom, but he thinks he's so clever, so much smarter than you because he sees both sides of the issue. Yes, I believe in fairness too. I believe in truth, and that's why it's an easy decision. How are we debating this? But everyone that's given Gavin Newsom credit, saying, oh, look at Gavin's come around on the trans issue. No, he hasn't. He is just saying things that you want to hear. So if you're an independent, whatever that means anymore in America, an independent voter or a moderate, or you just didn't like Kamala, so you held your nose and voted for Trump. That's who he's trying to win over, because he knows you don't pay enough attention or think about this stuff long enough. And just like, oh, Gavin said it, so now I'll vote for him, I guess.
Now, should we see how Hakeem, Dime Store Timu Obama, responded to it?
I love the Timu Obama. I think that's my favorite name for him. So, like you said, though, Jason, fracturing in the Democrat Party. Here's Gavin trying to win over America with his lies. And here's Hakeem who says, F it. This is my religion. I worship this stuff. Let's take a listen.
And let's just think of this, too. Gavin Newsom did the most wimpy response ever, basically saying, I don't want girls in sports. And I'll tell a funny story. Like, I was talking to my stepdaughter. We have our first grandbaby. And like, we were talking about trans stuff and they identify. And I'm just going to say, I just need to prepare you where when our adorable granddaughter is 9 years old and is playing lacrosse, or, 12 years old playing lacrosse, if some boy with pigtails comes over and knocks her teeth out, I am going to be on the TikTok. I am going to be grandpa loses his mind. Like, and then I'm like, what do you think? Should your daughter, this adorable baby girl that you're holding, be competing against men in contact sports in 10 years? She's like, well, no, that's bad. Okay. Like, we can agree. But like you say, Gavin tries the weakest possible. Maybe this should be a thing. And Hakeem, Todd, I'll let you roll the video.
Gavin Newsom's comments saying that Democrats were wrong for allowing transgender athletes to compete in female and girls sports. What is your response to that after Democrats have opposed the women and girls in sports?
I haven't seen his comments. What Democrats opposed was unleashing sexual predators on girls throughout the United States of America. All right. Thank you. Last question.
What? Should we play that again?
You should. This is remarkable.
What is your response to that after Democrats have opposed the women and girls in sports?
I haven't seen his comments. What Democrats opposed was unleashing sexual predators on girls throughout the United States of America.
Oh, news to me. What?
I'm just trying. So first of all, one thing the Democrats have done since Obama is be so united in their messaging, like it's right out of central casting. So something had to happen with somebody as prominent as Gavin Newsom to go off script and be like, oh my gosh, maybe we should talk about this issue. And Hakeem Jeffries, who should have been coached on this, was completely, you can tell, unprepared to respond to this. So if you think about all the behind the scenes stuff, like Gavin, however their communication channels work, should have been like, hey, I'm going to take the position, about this trans stuff. It's going to be soft or whatnot. Hakeem was not prepared. But then if you think of where his brain went, because so when he was rattled, like the truth comes out, where he's talking about we're trying to keep sexual predators away from women. Like, what exactly are you saying? The trans people are sexual predators? Are you saying, like, absolutely makes no sense and shows just how unskilled they are. Hakeem, like I call him Timu Obama. Obama, love him or hate him or loathe him like me. He was one of the most eloquent speakers of our time. And he could, like, after he sent a drone that killed an American citizen, like, you listen to him talk about it, and it was like the smoothest thing ever. Hakeem, who is in charge of the House, took over Nancy Pelosi, completely rattled, has no idea what he's talking about.
Which, if you actually believed them when they were voting against protecting women's sports and keeping biological men out of those spaces, like, wouldn't you think he'd be like, oh, you're asking me a question about how I voted on these bills, or you're asking me what I believe vis-a-vis transgenderism? Like, shouldn't you just have a canned response when it comes to that? Just make up words. We believe in equity for everyone and inclusion in these spaces because we don't want to exclude or demonize or push someone down a path that they're going to harm. Like, there are so many ways that even I can just respond to that question and pretend to be a Democrat for 2 seconds. How does he not have it? And what it is, they'll vote on that all day long because they know Americans aren't watching the C-SPAN votes. But he doesn't want to get on camera actually saying that. He knows how the polls are going. He can't admit out loud right now how they're voting or defending their voting. So he's just going to, like you said, just say that.
He punts and it's a bad punt. Oh my God, I love it.
All right, Jason, we're almost out of time here on the Facebook segment. Tim Burchett has been promised for like an hour. I'm going to play Tim Burchett for you.
And we only need the first like minute or so of the clip. It's a longer clip. But this is important too. Let me frame this up before we get into it. Tim Burchett, Republican from Tennessee. He gives away the whole game here in the first like minute and a half. Pay attention, folks, because this is a really important point.
Senate, but it's very encouraging of the things that he's disclosing and where he's headed with this, because they haven't even really cracked the nut. I mean, you've got education in the Pentagon that are out there, and you know what time this thing started?
Is there any sort of conversation or pushback, from folks who are
they're going to push back because you've got congressmen on both sides of the aisle that if they follow that paper trail, it's going to come back to them. You got their wife and or girlfriend that works for some agency, quasi-agency or some business, and I'll probably get primary for saying that, but that's the truth, and we all know it. And this town's crooked as a dog's leg. Somebody's going to straighten it out. Looks like it's going to be Elon Musk.
Did he give you guys his phone number like he did for the senators?
You'll have to ask Marjorie about that.
And what about using the rescission?
I tell you, dude, you're going to say, will you call Elon? And I'm saying, I'm going to call him.
Call Elon. Did he give you the number?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, did he?
No, I'm going on to your question.
What do you think about using the rescission package process?
All right. So here's the scheme that Tim Burchett talks about. And I love how he uses like those folksy lines like, it's crookeder than a dog's leg. They take our tax money. They shovel all that money into, they say this money is earmarked for whatever thing, increasing voter awareness of something. That money then gets packaged, sent to these non-government organizations or companies to execute on that initiative. And after that handoff, like it's untracked, right? Like there's no accountability back to the government for how that money's being spent. That company they gave all the money to is basically a money laundering operation. You're employing a bunch of people. He said wives and girlfriends, but friends, family, relatives who just have this innocuous goal that doesn't have any deliverables. Because if you notice, all these initiatives aren't like, okay, we're going to pay you to build this many houses in Haiti. Like they give them this money saying we need to address the housing problem in Haiti. And then it just gets absorbed by the Democrat machine. And then they give it to other companies that are set up similarly. Nothing productive happens out of it. It's all money laundering. It all filters the money back to the friends and family and organizations and the senators. And he talked about even on the right, when Doge gets over to the Pentagon and those, you're going to see the same thing, folks. And thank God for Tim Burchett for saying it, because I think it's a point many people are missing. These Democrats, these organizations, like, they're wasting government money because they're not actually delivering something. But there are so many people that are reliant on that government money, even though they technically have a job. Your job is working for an NGO with no deliverables. It's remarkable.
Yeah, interesting comment here. Makes me think of an article we had at theamericantribune.com as well. Burchett's a war room regular. He's good, but at a crossroads, and you can tell. I mean, the more these people dig, Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan and said, my life is in danger if I dig too deep. I mean, Burchett's taken a very hard stance against the corruption as well. Jason, I have no doubts that there have been conversations or threats made or just warnings, shots across the bow fired on these people. You can dig, but at a certain point, we are going to stop your shovel cold. Otherwise, there will be consequences. Like, really makes you wonder who's behind all of this.
Well, and I got to say, what's going to be exposed out of all this is you're going to realize how many of these, like, the entire left-wing apparatus of the elites doesn't actually produce anything. They exist off the government teat. And that's and then they fund our own demise. That's how they pay for their propaganda. That's how they pay for all of it. And God love Tim Burchett. And I think Kev's right, where he's somebody, like, I'm sure he's sitting there going, like, they're going to primary me or kill me. Like, that's what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. All right, we got one more clip in the queue here, and then I think we'll sign off here. We had Schiff. We got a little side-by-side of Shifty Ship pencil neck there. Same dude, just 2 years apart. I'm looking at the timestamp down there, and he's going to say the exact opposite thing, because why wouldn't he? So we'll finish up with this, folks, and then our Facebook audience. This is when we're going to sign off. It's been a fantastic hour. Appreciate all the viewers. Thanks for all the commenters here. But we are going to sign off on Facebook. You can still find us. Nina found us over on Rumble, I think. Go to rumble.com. Get the app on your phone, a little green play button. Search out the American Tribune. We're going to go for another half hour still. So I'm going to play this one clip, and then as the clip is playing, we will sign off. We'll keep the stream going on Rumble. Hope to see you guys make it over there. Join us over there. Robert's on YouTube. Robert, you got to check out Rumble. Nina, others on Facebook, you got to check out Rumble here. We're going to get going on South Africa, Jason. This is a project near and dear to our heart. We've done a lot of South Africa conversations, Rhodesia conversations on our Substack. The things happening over there are just evil. It is heinous and evil. That is the path Democrats want to take us down. We've been making a lot of those connections. So that is what you're in for. Stay tuned, folks. But here's Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff saying two things that contradict themselves, because of course, and then we'll be back on the other side.
See you on the flip side, folks.
Most frankly is, this relentless assault on the Justice Department by not just Trump, but all the other Republican candidates. They're attacking the Justice Department. They're trying to breed a lack of confidence in our justice system. That's going to have long-term damage. It means that people aren't going to trust the FBI. They're not going to report crimes. Witnesses won't come forward. Juries are going to be suspicious. In other cases, completely unrelated to Donald Trump. And this is by the party that was supposed to be a party of law and order. They've become a party of lawlessness and disorder, but it will do lasting damage.
Justice Department leadership populated by only cowards and fools. A Justice Department used both as a sword to go after the president's enemies and a shield to hide its corruption. Then, what will remain of our nation of laws, but a sad memory of a time when we lived up to our founders' dreams only to squander the gift of our inheritance?